All right. Thanks, guys, for your patience, and we are all ready to go. So today we're going to talk about your GPS for 2025. So for those of you on Zoom, I did upload a new GPS, a blank one, like this, in the Google Drive. For those of you here, you have a copy. We're going to take about 15 minutes to look at the examples. I think everyone here, yep, I know everyone here has done a GPS. And whether you did it recently because you're new, or you did it 6 months ago, you should have one. And so today, what I really want to focus on is our first 90-day plan. So we're going to do things just a little bit differently in 2025, where we're going to have a GPS for the whole year, of course, but I think it's much easier to really lock down our activities over the course of 90-day intervals versus this big year that we have for a GPS. And then what we do is keep waiting to start it because we have a year. And we know in real estate that every 90 days, like what I'm working for today is going to potentially be a paycheck in 90 days, right? So we're going to then check in every 90 days. So we're going to do this Zoom every 90 days to see where we're at with it and where we can, what we need to tweak, what we're going to abandon, and don't misunderstand what I'm saying when I say abandon. Sam, would you close that door? I don't want you to put something down on your GPS that you know is something that, if I decide I don't want to do it, I can just give it up. That doesn't really help you with your goals if you're always abandoning ship, right? But if it's after 90 days, you can see, you know what, I just never did that thing. I just never did it. I said that I was going to go door to door to invite neighbors to my open house, but I never did it. I'm not going to probably do it. That would be an example of something where either you're going to really buckle down and do it, or you need to replace it with something else. So I'm going to dive right in because we've got a lot to cover today. And if we go a little bit over, then we go a little bit over. Please, those in the room and on Zoom, stop me when you have questions. I'm going to do a share screen and I'm going to dive into the examples first, which are in the Google Drive. Okay, so we'll just look at this one since it's the first one that came up. So here is a GPS example that all of you would have gotten when we did your GPS. I gave you 3 examples, one based on 12 homes sold, one based on 24, and one based on 36. Let me give you some national averages that I just learned yesterday that was a little bit shocking to me. Usually it's not, but it is. And I promise I'm not telling you this to have you go, oh, good, it's okay. I'm in that average. You can decide what percentile you want to be in. 50% of real estate agents in our country this past year, has sold 2 or less houses.
Did you say 50?
50%. 75% sold 5 or less houses. So let's just say they're projecting a mass exit of agents here coming up. So that means that 25% of the agents in our country sold more than 5 houses. So where do you see yourself? Like, you have to really resonate with that and think about it. And I'm no genius, but being a coach, and I've been a coach and an agent for, many years now, I know why. And this is the hard truth. And this is not meant to be a lecture today, but I just want to preface this. It's because you're not doing these things. You wrote your GPS, you put your goals down, and you're not doing it. I know you're not doing it because you're not selling houses that you said you wanted to sell. If you were selling the houses that you wanted to sell, that would mean that you're doing the things. And I'll say it again, like I said on Monday, and this is what it is. And I hope that these things are meant to be motivators to you and not like a lecture. But after all, you pay me to be your coach, right? So there's my disclaimer if someone's like, Gina's so rude. In any case, if I said to you, I will give you $10,000 at the end of January, but you need to do this Monday through Friday, every single week, over and over and over again. And then that's the paycheck you're gonna get. Who would say no to that? Somebody tell me who would say no to that. That's what's waiting for you. And that just means you have to dedicate your time. So I'm not saying that everybody's full-time in real estate. So let's just cut it to $5,000 then. So it's not too hard. Like 2 to 3 transactions should make you around $10,000. We are a 70% or 80% company. Now, that doesn't mean less expenses. Don't mistake your net income with your gross income. There's expenses that come out. So don't look at your check and say, but I had to pay this and I had to pay that, this referral to that person or that. No, that's an expense, just like anyone else has, for business. Luckily, our checks come and taxes don't come out, right? So look at it that way. In any case, you're not doing this stuff. And that's why 50% of our country sold less than 2 houses and then are getting out of the business because it's too expensive to stay in it. So the good news to you is if a ton of people get out, that means more business for you. So next year you can be in that 25% that sells maybe 10 houses. So it doesn't mean don't have a lofty goal. It just means be realistic, but do the work. Right. So I want you guys to take your GPS pretty seriously. And for those of you who were at the team meeting yesterday, we went over the 411, which is a way more geared down version of what we're going to do today with our 90-day. So that focuses more on your week and your day. So let me just review this real quick.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I got ahead of myself. I got excited.
You're good. So this is just kind of a shot in the dark numbers, because we don't know a couple things. For 12 homes with an average price of 150, I was conservative. That is not our average price in our area, but I just wanted to be conservative with it. And an average commission of 2.7%. If you're on the 80-20, you would make before expenses 38,000 and some change. If you're on the 70-30, then it's around 34,000, and then less expenses and your royalty. So we look at then what is our priority. So on our main GPS, which I would say don't abandon your main GPS, this is for the whole year. Maybe for you, it's still the same 3 things and maybe it's not. Let me also say this as you're deciding what that is this. And I'm going to use this analogy. If I have a goal of losing 20 pounds and I've lost 25, do I need my GPS? If my GPS is for losing weight, do I need to remind myself now to still drink a gallon of water a day? Probably not. Unless, let me also add, and I'm maintaining the weight loss.
Say what you want.
Yeah, if you want to maintain it. And let's say I've maintained it for 2 years. Do I need my goal to still remind me to drink a gallon of water a day and exercise 4 times a week and eat right? By then it becomes a habit. So do not let this example be your crutch to keep putting the same thing on your GPS. Because by now, most of you, this should be habit. Knowledge is always going to happen, but do we really need to dedicate an entire priority for knowledge if you're already doing that as a habit in your life? So I'm asking as a question. You have to ask yourself that. If you need it to be on here for your full year to maintain you doing it, then by all means do that. Especially if you're so new in the business too, that you need that to be one of your priorities. I'm not trying to talk you out of it. Building a database and marketing, same thing. If you've been doing this for a little bit, that's just what we do. Again, good and bad news to you. When you went to real estate school, no one told you that actually your job is to build a database and then market to it, or market to build a database and a combination of those things. If you don't do that, then you won't sell houses. Even someone who joins a team who's getting internet leads still has to do these things. They don't just get silver platter leads, you still have to work for it. And then we have to spend time on follow-up. So I do want to focus some attention on this as well this year. We do a lot of talking about how we're going to get business, and we don't spend a ton of time on then how we keep it and turn it. So I really want to spend a lot of time in this first quarter of next year on training classes, on yay me. I've hosted open houses and I went door knocking and I called for sale by owners. And now how do I convert that business? So, because that's really important, because some people, they're doing the things, but they're not converting the business. And if you don't convert the business, then you still don't get a paycheck, right? So I want to spend the next 45 minutes actually on our blank 2025 goals, so that way we can build that based on your sources of business. But before I move on to that, who has questions about this GPS? Who has, something they'd like to share, a concern, they agree, disagree? Where are we at with our overall goal for 25 before, so we can move on to our first 90 days?
I mean, I definitely don't have any questions or anything, but I will say, I think it's no surprise, Jess and I both love Keller Williams very much. We're not biased, but we do really like Keller Williams. And one of the reasons is because we also use the same tools
Yeah.
as you. So like the GPS for me, is literally the only thing that I've ever used in my entire career consistently year over year. And it's like my favorite thing to do.
Yeah, I love that.
It is really easy to just say, like Jess and I business plan often, and we say, okay, this is the goal. Are we close? Are we far away? Like, what does that look like? But when you actually write it down and say, okay, these are the 3 main priorities and then the strategies, there's like literally nothing else that can give you more clarity on like how to operate a business.
I mean, it's so simple, right? It's not, it's not a
really
giant business plan.
If you are someone that comes from a place of like emotion, like I've been doing the open house and I'm doing the open house and I don't understand why it works. Like, and you look back at the GPS, it is like so black and white what you're doing and the results. Like there's no emotion behind it.
No.
It's very logic, and that's why we both love it so much. We both operate out of a place of like, okay, it's not working, let's fix it. And this is, I would say,
Are you both D's?
We're
Yeah.
both 99%.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, that obviously also helps.
Yes.
But it does take the emotion out of.
Yes.
It's like literally like, this is logically the one thing you want and the 3 things you can do and how we're gonna do it. And I will
It's the
say
model.
the one thing we love to do every year.
And I have a GPS for everything, by the way. I used the weight loss GPS example because I did a GPS for weight loss. Like I did. And it was very simple to me. I wanted to lose 25 pounds and I ended up losing 40. And one column was exercise and one column was nutrition. I didn't have a third.
Yeah.
So that's what it takes to do that. And sadly, what I learned though was nutrition was the most important and exercise was very secondary, but, which wasn't a great encouragement for me to keep exercising. However, in any case, so I have a GPS for my coaching business. I have a GPS I'm part of with Legacy on leadership. I have a GPS for my real estate business and so on. So it is something that you can use in your life in many different ways for goals. And like I said, this year we're going to do an overall one. So I would have you guys work on that, and please feel free to send me a screenshot. But what I want you to leave here today with is your 90-day, because we're going to break it down and make it a little bit tighter. And when we do the 90-day, which I'm going to roll into if we're done looking at this, is I want you to out of here. Leave with it mostly done. So I would love for you guys to fill in your blanks as we go. All right, so here is our, and I hadn't had a chance to put this in dot loop and make it typable. So, plus it wouldn't matter what I type in here because that would be for my own goals. So what I would love for us to do is start to talk about what that's going to look like for each of you. So let's talk about goal. I still think that your main goal on here should be your overall goal for the year. Just put / then 90 days. And here's why. What we can't control is that we have seasonality in this business. So I don't want you to say, I want to sell 20 houses next year, and I'm going to sell 4 in the first quarter, or whatever that's going to look like for you. Because we can't control the seasonality. And it's not just based on seasons as it's snowing outside right now. We all have our own seasonality. Strangely for me, I sell more houses in the fall and the winter. I don't know why. I don't know what happens. There must be something that I'm actively doing in the summertime that gets me business in the wintertime. So keep that in mind. And I want to also use this example of encouragement. Most of you, or a lot of you guys, know Charlie Ford. Charlie, if you watch this, I love you, and I'm going to use you as an example. Charlie texted me. It was when I was still living in my house. So I'm going to say more than 2 months ago. It was probably more like August, we'll say. And he said to me, hey, something happened tonight. And I was like very intrigued. And Charlie's a night owl. So it was like, he always jokes and says, it's 9:59. And I'm texting you because he knows my cutoff is 10 o'clock. And so he makes a joke about it. But anyway, he said, I was at a ball game tonight and I was sitting here, and I'm probably going to mess up his story just a little bit, but he said, I was contemplating getting out of the business. For those of you who know Charlie, he's dual career. He's a correction officer at a facility, so he can't work while he's at work, right? And so he's been in the business since we were at Stevens Circle, so more than 3 years ago. And he said, I was contemplating, do I want to continue to do this? Because, you know, it weighs a lot on someone's shoulders when they want to make real estate work, and it's not. So he said, I'm going to do one last thing, and we'll let fate take it from there. He sat there at that game and he texted everybody in his cell phone. Hey, I sell real estate. Maybe you don't know I sell real estate, but I really want my business to grow, or I'm getting out. So if you happen to know of anybody who's thinking about buying or selling, please send them my way. And that's not his words exactly, but something to that effect, right? He immediately got a ton of responses, even people who were like, no, I don't, but hey, good for you, and keep going, and of encouragement, right? And he got 6 to 8 leads that were actually people buying and selling. He's now closing out this year with over 10 transactions. And he started out very slow. And he just texted me and said, I got 2 more under contract.
Yeah, I have one of them.
Okay.
Forever.
I know.
Sent me a lead.
See?
This is great.
It's amazing. And so he's so on a high right now because he's like, I was about to quit. And then I took a step forward and did something outside of my box, something I haven't done before. And I let fate take it. And here I am now, and I'm loving life. And it's got him coasting, you know? And so whatever you need to do to get that flow happening, and also stick with it once it happens. In any case, you don't have to get to that point where you're about to quit though. Like, that's what we need to do. We have control over our own schedule and our own life and what we're going to do. And for him, it just happened to be that text message. So let's talk then about, don't break down your goal by 90 days, because it's really hard to do that when you don't know what your seasonality is yet. So I still want to see on that line what your goal is for the year. So everybody, if anyone would like to share what their goal is, please feel free to unmute yourself or shout it out, or not. I'm not putting anybody on the spot. I don't really specifically know what my real estate goal is for next year, because my main focus is actually growing the coaching program and trying to always make it better, and what I can do to help you guys sell more houses. So I don't know what mine is either. Anybody? I don't want to cut anybody off and jump ahead unless someone wants to.
It's gonna be different because it's closed,
Mhm.
but I have a goal of 150 units for just myself. Our team did 260 so far this year.
Okay,
So we
I love it.
wanted to increase by 25%. My goal is 100 units this year.
Very good. I love that. Anybody have a thought about your goal?
I feel like in the past, when I've done this, I've made it too lofty for myself. So I don't wanna lowball it, but at the same time,
It's whatever feels right. And so like,
Yeah.
here's what happens when we make it too lofty. I have sat in many one-on-ones with new agents that have said, I want to sell 50 houses. And I'm like, oh, well, what are you going to do to make that happen?
high.
Yeah. Or whatever their number is, you know what I mean? So like, what happens is disappointment then.
Yeah.
We have to have a win. Like, I would love to be able to, and I'm working with the locker room to help me with this tool, is I know, and I was just talking to Mark about this as well. I know what keeps agents encouraged and going when you're new is to get a transaction in your first 60 days. So I really want to put together a very specific plan that you can have something under a contract in your first 60 days,
Yeah.
because then it'll be closed in your first 90. So don't be disappointed with your goal then. So what do you think it is?
I was gonna say 10, but now I'm sitting here thinking maybe I need to make it lower, because I've never really been sold 10 yet. I've sold like 6 or 7.
Mhm.
So I think I've sold 7 now. Anyway, I don't even know.
Yeah, that's okay.
But, so I'm leaning towards saying like, if I sold 6 or 7 for the year. This particular year.
So what about 6 with a stretch of 10?
Okay,
Cause I love a stretch goal.
okay,
Make sense?
yeah,
Go ahead.
I will say, one of the things that made it easier in my head when I was doing my units, versus houses sold, things like that. It was much easier for me to identify that number of what felt right based on an income goal.
Yeah.
So if you told yourself, I wanna make $50,000 in real estate, take the average price
I'm
point in the
gonna quit if that's all.
area.
I
Yeah.
can't, like, I'm where Charlie's at, really. I'm like near quitting. 'Cause
Yeah, and then,
I'm doing other work and it's been hard to even be encouraged to do, cause I keep floating along and I'm not doing the things I need to do, so I need to like buckle down or forget it. So.
Well, I
Yeah.
think to your point, Kate, it's this. Here's really the question you need to answer. What do I need to make in real estate to stay in real
to make
estate?
it worth it.
Yeah,
100%.
it's like rather than what I'd like to make and have some
Yes.
pipe dream number,
100%.
what do I need to make to stay in real estate? And then everything above and beyond that is fabulous, you know?
You put so much work in over the previous 2 years, like,
Right.
Yeah.
you don't want that, have that just go to the
Correct.
wayside.
Right.
And then the next question is, how much time am I willing to dedicate to real estate every week? Because it's by the week. If you go 3 weeks without doing anything in real estate and you only look at how much time I'm gonna spend in a month, you're gonna wait till day 29 and then all of a sudden you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, I didn't do anything. That's what happens. Now, listen, I have people in coaching that say to me, Gina, I have another job. I love my other job, or I have my family I'm taking care of, whatever their things are. And I only want to call you if I have a question. So don't talk to me about goals. Don't talk to me about classes. I only want to be able to call you when I need something. Hey, if that's what you want out of coaching, that it's great. That's your program. That's what you're paying for, whatever. But for some of you, you want to be held accountable to your goals. So I want you to think about what you have to do to make it happen. So then how many hours, and maybe just put a slash next to your goal and say, here's how many hours I want to work in real estate every week. And then the next question is does it make sense? If I want to sell one house a month, so that's 12 transactions. And I'm only gonna dedicate 2 hours a week to real estate, does that measure up? If it doesn't measure up, then we need to figure out how to make it measure up. So we already know from the locker room, Jake already figured out the numbers, so we don't need to recreate the wheel. If you want to sell 25 houses in any period of time, whether that be a year, 3 months, whatever it looks like for you. But if you want it to be for a year, because you can measure it, but you can draw it back to be for 6 months. But if you want 25 houses in a year, it's one simple thing. He did the breakdown. If you guys haven't watched the Agent Action Plan week, it was recorded and it's in the university. I recommend going back, especially in particular to watch day 1, which is basically the CGI calculator. All you need to do is get one new appointment every week, and you will sell 25 houses a year. One. So if you only want to sell 12 houses, or 12 houses is your goal, then that just means that you have to have one new appointment every 2 months. I mean, really, guys, that doesn't seem like a lot. So you need to be doing things to strive to get one new appointment, one new listing appointment, one new buyer appointment, and figuring out that CGI calculator for yourself, which how much do I want to come from listings? How much do I want to come from buyers? And then focus on those things. If you're looking at me like you don't know what a CGI calculator is, then you didn't go to the agent action plan. Also, Jose just did his in person in Fairlawn, I think it was, recently. Kim, I know that you were there. So knowing your numbers that way, and then that will break you down to then how many contacts do I need to make every week, every day to be able to get that one new appointment? And then How many calls do I have to make? And if I'm not good on the phone, what did I just hear someone say? Actually, it was Jake, yesterday in track. So I don't know if anybody in here, I think I saw a couple people on there. Jake said, if you're not good on the phone, then why the hell are you calling for sale by owners? If you know you're not good on the phone, then don't call for sale by owners. If you're better in person, then you should be knocking on doors or just going out and introducing yourself to people. So figure out what you're good at and what you like to do and stop trying to go against the grain and then you're just defeating what you're trying to do and then you're not going to win there. Okay, so priorities. What are 3 priorities that you're thinking or even one? So I did Ken's first 90-day GPS yesterday with him, and he said he only wanted to focus on 2 sources. And that is okay. If we have a solid business built around 2 priorities, that is okay. Do not pressure yourself that you have to have 3. The reason that we have 3 and not 5 is because if you've read The Millionaire Real Estate Agent or you have listened to it or you want to, we can't focus on too many things. We have to pull it in and work deep and hard than to have too many little loose ends. So, and these are things that we're going to say are not going to be so general. I don't want you to look at it the same way we did with our example, which was knowledge. A priority for your first 90 days should be answering this question. Where is my business going to come from? Where would I like my business to come from? Where has it come from in the past? Or what am I wanting to focus on? So I'll throw Ken out there again, because I just did his yesterday with him. It was social media. So he's really doing a ton of stuff on social media. So his priority number 1 was social media. And then we built a plan of strategies under that based on actionable, measurable items that he can put on his calendar. And I was so happy to see when I walked past his office 2 hours later, his big calendar's on the wall in his office and he already filled it out for the first 90 days. So don't worry about the whole year. Worry about the first 90 days. What is one priority that I'm going to focus on for my first 90 days? Shout it out.
I'm working on social media as well.
Okay.
So, I kind of started doing it last night. I printed out the calendar from Track.
Okay.
They have a bunch of different ideas, and then I didn't know, which is bad that I didn't know, but you can actually schedule everything on demand
Mm-hmm.
and have it. So I'm learning all the new.
And that's okay. Yeah, that's good.
And it's going to make my life so much easier. So when you're picking like 5 different strategies for that, are you saying like, okay, for in my first 90 days, I'm going to like schedule my 2 or 3 posts for each week?
Yes.
Something like that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So you need to decide how many posts am I going to do per week?
Yeah.
2 or 3, and then you need to get them scheduled. So spending some time on then the what is it going to be? If you just say on your calendar or on here, we'll post 2 or 3 times a week. That's great. It's an action item and it's measurable, but here's where the stumbling block comes in that I have learned. If you don't know what it's going to be or you've never budgeted time for content, you probably aren't going to do it. Imagine a world where you walk into the office and your boss, which is you, says, okay, Sam, today is the day that you're going to post about this. Tomorrow on your calendar, when you come into the office, you're going to create a post about this. The next day, you're going to create a post about this. And you know what it is. Or I feel like I'm shouting really loud. Am I talking really loud? I'm just hearing myself and I feel like I'm getting really loud. Or maybe Monday morning is the day that I'm going to do content for the whole week. And now I'm going to spend an hour working on content for 3 posts. And then I'm going to schedule it to go out on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, or whatever.
Yeah.
What does that look like for you then? And I think it would make my life much easier if you spend like one of your categories could be this, and this is what Ken and I did. He's going to spend an entire afternoon coming up with enough content, like a pond of content for the whole 90 days. brainstorm it, just brainstorm for 2 hours, a pond of content for the first 90 days. That now he has sitting here on his desk, and then he can then go in and then create the post for it on Monday morning for the week or for the month. And then on his calendar in the beginning of March, he's going to schedule his time to build his pond for the next 90 days. That you won't keep it going if you don't do that,
Right.
right? And then get the content, don't get so caught up. It's about the doing. I mean, I can think of a handful of people that Kate was nice enough to take photos of and sit down with and create content at the beautiful cross-country headquarters in downtown Cleveland. And so the work was already there and done, and I'm still not seeing those people posting regularly. It's confusing to me. So what's the stumbling block then for that person or those people? It wasn't the idea of the content, and it wasn't the actual post created for them. It's just the actual doing it. Don't overthink it, just do it. What do they say about perfection? It's your stumbling block to have, it causes inaction. Then, so you're gonna decide then, what are those social media 5 strategies for you? And there's more than just the content and then the creating it and posting it. It's for Ken, it was creating 4 events on social media a year. So 1 for this quarter. You see how that works? And then also, what else am I gonna do with it? And so build your strategies around that. And don't hesitate to shoot me a text if you're having a hard time coming up with those items. I'll probably put together an example
I
again.
was gonna say, I really wanna do recruitment. I just wanted to say that. That's one of my things.
When are your priorities?
Yeah, in the next 90 days.
So recruit in what way?
To come here and
Okay,
try the business.
I love that.
I've told you this before.
Yeah.
I have people calling me constantly, which is weird. My friends' kids are
Yeah.
like, people were like, I think I want to try that this year. And I'm like, everyone's quitting real estate and these people want to get involved. So I need to push them to you or
Yeah.
get them here.
Yes.
And one is a man who retired from selling cars.
Okay,
It'd be really good.
yeah,
I think not all of them are young. I mean, but it's just interesting to me. And I want to make that. I went to that class.
Yeah.
You recommended, and there were only like 3 people from here there, I think.
okay,
But that guy was amazing.
yeah. Oh, Aaron Kaufman.
Yes.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm like, this is incredible. And I'm even kind of like, I feel like that could help me save myself right now, but I need to do the other things
Well,
too.
because here's the thing, it's passive income. It's
Yeah,
passive income.
yeah.
So like, don't forget, guys, you're Keller Williams agents and somebody's
Yeah.
making profit share off of you every time you sell a house. So you may as well do the same thing. I
Yeah,
mean, it's what we call our 401k in the future.
right. I really like that. And I feel like even people in other places, like realtors I've met, along the way.
You can make, I have people out of state that I
Yeah.
make profit share from.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I know a gal.
I still get profit shares.
Yeah,
That's amazing. Well,
Yeah.
I just thought, like, I know a gal who I've known since high school and she lived in Denver when I was there and now then she lived in Georgia and she became a realtor with like another organization.
Okay.
Now she's in Florida and she's like, oh, I quit real estate because I couldn't get it off the ground here. Now I'm in Florida and I'm thinking I should recruit her to go to
yeah,
Keller Williams now.
yes.
Because she's referring people to me who are, she knows, who are moving.
Back and forth in Florida, yeah.
from Florida. And I'm like, why isn't she doing this? Keller
Yeah.
Williams would help her. I feel like the training here, there is really no excuse other than.
Oh, no, listen,
get up,
I
do it.
have new recruits say this, even recently.
Mm.
So-and-so who I was talking to told me that I should start at KW and not at the brokerage they're at, so I can get trained.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, listen, if that agent's willing to take the risk that they're gonna come here and get
Yes,
trained and then
agreed.
end up going,
Mhm.
I'll let them take the risk, we'll take them any day.
Yeah, because it doesn't make sense. I really like the concept of, hey, whatever we're paying and like the 18,000 overhead annually. That could easily get paid by recruiting people if they're working agents.
Absolutely,
And it makes
absolutely.
sense. And I really, not only that, but everything else he said.
I rarely have a month, probably, I hate definitive comments, so I won't say ever, but
Yes.
I can pretty much say ever. I never have a month that goes by that I don't have a commission, not a commission,
Right.
a check for profit share come in on the
And
21st.
fully established and stuff, but I'm like, even if it helped take some of that.
If you don't know
just
who the
by
next
sticking.
great person who's
Yeah.
gonna build a giant team, who's gonna be the next Jose Medina and Associates?
Right.
Somebody is,
That's-
and maybe they get in your downline.
Right.
And then everybody they bring on goes to you too. So, yeah.
Never know.
So I love that. So a priority then would be recruiting. So then what you need to do is then build your strategies of how am I going to get in front of people that are agents that I know at other brokerages. So that's one.
Okay.
And then the other is people that I know that are interested in thinking about real estate. How am I going to bring up the conversation about it? And then, and you and I can have a meeting about this too,
Right.
of how you can then flip them to me, and then
Yes.
I will have that follow through. You're not expected, by the way, guys, you aren't expected, even when you're wanting to build your downline and recruit, to close them. We are. You just get them to us. We know what to say to close them out. It's kind of like this. If I have a showing agent, but I'm the one who's gonna write the offer, who's gonna close the deal? Person who's writing the offer, right?
Right.
So bring them, send them to me. I'll show them the things they need to do to get into school if they're not in school. We have a coupon code for Hondros. Also know this, Mark and I, one of the things on our leadership GPS was to spend some time, and it's been on that lingering list of goals for a couple years now, on creating a really good career night, because we have not. And so we're gonna do, we haven't set the exact plan, but rather than doing one on Zoom every other month, we're thinking about every month, we're thinking about doing back in person every other month and making it more of an event.
That'd be fun.
And have all of leadership be part of it and invite a lot of different people from a lot of different places and make it more of a learning exercise too, like people in school, hey, 10 things I didn't tell you about in real estate school. That's gonna be the top of the career night. And then we're gonna spill in some of the KW stuff to make it more active. So that would also be a place for you to be able to recruit too.
I like that.
Many agents, when I first came to KW, used to create social media posts about, talk to me about becoming an agent. You can build an entire plan on social media. No one's gonna say that that's not a good thing to do. About if you're thinking about a career in real estate, contact me.
Okay.
I'll tell you who else too. Whenever I go to a restaurant, you both have been with me at First Watch, and one of our waitresses that's always waiting on us whenever we go there, Lindsay, has been in real estate school and just had never finished her classes. And every time I see her and I talk to her, I am going to get her here at some point. So I'm always talking about real estate with people. Heather at Table 6. She's Samantha's friend. And every time, and she waits on me always when I go in, because I always ask for her. And I'm always like, is this gonna be your year, Heather?
Cool.
Because I know that waitresses make the best agents.
She would literally be an amazing.
She absolutely would. She absolutely would. So I was told by Mary Schumacher when she met me at City Grill, and I was a waitress. I'm here because of that. She said waitresses make the best real estate agents. Quit college and come work for me, and here I am. So like, that's not an untrue statement. You know how to multitask?
With college, but.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
get it.
In any case, so you can build an entire strategies around that. What else? What other priorities are we thinking about for a source of business? Somebody on Zoom. We'll wait. Did I ever say when people are on Zoom and their camera's not on and they don't answer, makes me think you're not really there? Wyatt, I see that you unmuted
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah, no worries.
So Wyatt, then Mason, go ahead.
Sorry about that. But yeah, so I know we kind of touched on it the other day too, whenever I was in for Dominate Your
Mhm.
Week, but calling for sale by owners and kind of getting that ball rolling. That's a personal goal of mine as well, but I think it would actually be a relatively good way to get some newer income or to kind of get some extra sales. Like, maybe let's say you're not really hitting your goal for the month, and let's say you kind of want to try that for a month or two, or you get an extra listing. That always can't hurt. So that's kind of my thought process on that, is getting an extra listing through that, or just scrubbing the do not call list on expired listings. That's always a good idea too.
So are you saying that one priority would be for sale by owner and one would be expireds?
Yeah.
Okay, so then what I would love to see for you then, when you're building this for yourself, and I want, like for you, if you have a blank one in front of you or just a piece of paper and pencil or whatever. I want one of your priorities to say for sale by owner and the other one to say expired listings. And then I want you to start to come up with the strategies around what you're going to do. We have a ton of stuff in the Google Drive. We teach a lot of classes on for sale by owner and expires, and there's a whole plan there. Please do not feel like you have to recreate the wheel. Also, this sounds crazy, but it's true. You can go on ChatGPT and say, if I am a new real estate agent and I'm wanting to build a plan around for sale by owner, tell me 10 things I can do, and it's gonna spit it out.
Literally, I never heard about but I would
Yes.
say chat. I can't even.
ChatGPT, yeah.
Yeah, but that thing is amazing. It has saved so much time. I'm no more trying to figure out like how I'm gonna say something and
Yeah.
it does it for you.
And don't spend time. You don't get paid to spend time wasting on recreating the wheel.
Mhm.
You just don't. So we don't have to have something genius new, just need to do the work. So I love that. So Wyatt, when do you think you can have at least two of those priority columns done? Do you think by the end of the week, by 5 p.m. on Friday?
Yeah, that's totally doable.
So I'm gonna put that on my calendar and you're going to text me a picture of it.
Yeah, sounds good. I can do that.
Awesome. I'm gonna mark that down. All right, Mason, tell us what one source or priority is going to be for you in 2025.
Just leads and calling.
So when you say leads, do you mean internet leads? You mean SOI? You mean calling people that you already have in your
Oh yeah,
database?
internet leads.
Okay, okay, so internet leads is a priority. And then what are some strategies around that then?
I mean, just like what you said, don't recreate the wheel, just call them, set them up in searches, and then keep following up until you can meet with them face to face, and then hopefully that relationship keeps moving forward, and then maybe you can get referrals from them, maybe you can, you just build that out.
And you bring up a good point there. Don't forget this, guys, and I think there's so many lost transactions on this. So if I got an internet lead and they actually were just clicking on a pretty picture on Facebook, aren't they now someone though, if they respond that I talked to and I have their name, number, and email address, and I got it from internet lead and they just tell me, sorry, I was just browsing. Aren't they still legitimately someone that you can put in your database to market to for referrals or future business? I mean, the normal life of a lead is 9 months, guys. Write that down, 9 months. If you were delusional in thinking that the internet lead clicked on a picture on day 1 and I was lucky enough winner to get them on day 25 in, and now I have shortened the span of the life of this lead, who knows? But then that's a question. There's a script in there. How long have you been looking? Now you can tell how long that 9 months are we just starting? So now I should project that they should be 9 months ahead, where we've been looking for 6 months. And then the next question is when do you see yourself in your new home? Not when do you want to start going out physically looking at houses, and then finding out their pain points. Well, what is the reason? What's causing you to want to buy a house? Like, this is why we script. Those are the questions going into the LP Mama, of course, but also digging a little deeper and finding some of those things out for
I
motivation.
do have an example too.
Please tell
Somebody
us.
that I just followed up with. I'll just read you the text. I said, "Hi,
Mhm.
Sonia. Wanted to check in and see how your search has been going. I know during the holidays it's probably not top of mind, but I'm here if you need anything." And she said, "Hey, Mason, thanks for checking in. I lost my job due to my company closing up business, so I'm unfortunately not looking anymore." I said, "I'm sorry to hear that. I'll still keep in touch. I'm sure your luck will change, and when it does, I'll be here to make sure that you find the perfect spot." And that's
I love
it.
that.
And that's it. I mean, and that just shows that
But she's not going to stay
there.
unemployed, right?
Yeah. Well, that and that you care. I feel like that's the number one thing that you need to be able to communicate to people, that you even if she lost her job, you're not just writing her off. I showed
Yeah.
that I still cared, even though that she lost her job. I said, I'm sorry to hear that, and I'm still here if you need anything.
And
So
the only other thing that you could add in a very delicate way would be, I know that sometime in the future, you'll be looking to buy a house, or if you ever know of anybody who's thinking about buying or selling it,
yeah,
but that
well,
might
and
not
that's
have
why
been
I
the
said
appropriate
I did
moment
say that.
next
I
time.
did say
Oh,
that.
okay,
I said, I'm
okay,
sure your luck will change, and when it does.
yeah.
So that's a
And
soft way of
maybe
saying that.
she's also someone worth then, of course. I think you all need to spend some time on smart plans and having different categories of smart plans of where you can put this person. So like someone like her that's on hold, I would rate her now as a probably C buyer in the scale of A, B, and C. Do we all know what an A buyer is?
See, they're gonna.
0 to 30. If we found the right house, right? A B buyer is 30 to 90. And then a C buyer is anything plus 90 plus. So I would say she probably went down from an A to a B to now a C, but that doesn't mean she's not a buyer. So wouldn't that be someone that would be, maybe it would be useful to send her a monthly newsletter about things that are going on in the community, just to stay in front of her. Send her, I would also do this, Mason. She should go on your list to send a Happy New Year card. I know Mason did Thanksgiving cards because he and I sat next to each other and we did Thanksgiving cards. So we're skipping Christmas just because we did Thanksgiving instead. But maybe then what the next card, handwritten note card is New Year's.
Yeah, like they have friends. This person has friends. I mean, she had a friend come with her when I showed her a house.
Oh, yeah. I remember that story. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean,
So
the
then when could you
opportunity.
have your full column done by the end of the week as well, like Wyatt, and you can screenshot it to me, even though we live together?
Sure.
Awesome. Thank you. Any other strategies that you'd like to add?
I'm good.
Okay. Who else? What's another source of business that you're focusing on this year or next year?
I have a question
Hmm?
for like another source. I know I mentioned it before, like doing the first time home buyer campaign,
Mhm.
and then I wanna start doing ads for listings at the first of the year. And then, so would that just go under like internet leads then, if I wanna start doing ads to promote my business and try and attract like first time home buyers or,
So-
like buyers in general from like the listing ads that I would do?
So are you saying, should that be its own priority?
Mhm,
Probably.
yeah.
Well, I mean, it could be a strategy. So under social media, one of your strategies could be the ads, right?
Okay, yeah.
The only way it could become a priority is this. What are the 5 strategies then?
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean? Is it a big enough thing that you're gonna focus on? If I'm only focusing on, not only, but if I'm gonna focus so much attention on ads, can I build an entire plan around that thing?
Right.
That's how I feel like you can identify whether it's a priority or a strategy.
Okay, yeah.
Does that make sense?
Kind of follow on social media.
Look at this example too. If a priority is, building my database. And one of the strategies is host 4 open houses. That would be under the column of build my database, right? But then when open house becomes such a big thing that it becomes its own priority, then the strategies, so let's just go with that. A source of business is open house. But we all agree. How do we build a good strategies underneath that column? So now we're moving 4 open houses a month or whatever from being a strategy up to a priority, because now we're going to build an entire plan around just that source of business, which would be, I'm hosting 4 at least a month. And so in priority 2, open house / 4 to 6 open houses a month, something like that. And then one strategy would be, I'm going to put up 5 to 8 signs for every open house by Wednesday. I'm going to create a social media campaign around invitations, e-invites, whatever on social media, boost the post for each open house. I'm going to create it like it's an event. Another strategy would be I'm going to door knock 2 nights before or the day before, whenever it is. I'm going to create a flyer. I'm going to do an invitation to the neighborhood to invite them to my open house. Or I'm going to have, I mean, I've heard a lot of people, I think someone talked about it at family reunion last year, where they made a themed open house every month. So to not make it every single open house, every month they had a theme. So during football season, every single week, their open house was based on football. So they would market it that way. Come watch the Browns game with me at open house, because they knew it's football season. We're not going to have people coming in on Sunday because they want to watch the game. Or if they're into college football, they're not going to come in because it's a Saturday. So they said, how can I take that problem and then, make it work for me? So everything they did, they made snacks and things like that all around football. In the summertime, I know someone did on Jen Mucci's team, a lemonade stand. So for a whole month, maybe the month of June, come visit me at my lemonade stand here at my open house. And she actually set up her table outside on the sidewalk and invited people in. They went in the house while she was greeting people at the door. There's so many fun things that you can do with it. So making it more like an event. So do you see how you can move that from a strategy to a priority? What are some other sources of business?
Sphere of influence would be one.
Yep, sphere of influence. So if we're gonna have sphere of influence be a priority, which I agree, if you know a lot of people or you just grew up here or whatever it is, other than if you're new to the area, sphere of influence would be something like, I prefer to work with people I know. I want to work with referrals and I want to work with past clients. So sphere of influence is a big one for me. So then what are my strategies around that?
Well, and it's not even just selling directly to the people in your cell phone either. It's can they help you find people?
100%.
I mean, people that you know are more willing to help you rather than people you don't know. So
Correct.
you might as well just do it.
Yeah, don't look at marketing. I hear this often, but everybody I know just moved in their house, or they can't afford to buy a house, or they rent and they, or I'm 22 years old and all my friends are in college, like whatever the reasons are, we aren't reaching out to our SOI for their business. We're reaching out to our SOI for their business or their future business and their referrals. I love referrals more than I even love their business, because if you're looking at it just for their business, it's going to be once every 10 years or so. But I want them to be someone who's funneling me referrals, because that could be constantly, right? So make sure that your script, when you're reaching out to your SOI, isn't, are you thinking about buying, selling, or investing in real estate? It's you or someone you know. So we have to build a plan around that kind of thing. So with sphere of influence, I think it's one of the easiest sources, because it's already someone that you know. So the plan around that for your action items is going to be a 33 touch campaign or a 45 touch campaign, or whatever the heck touch campaign you want to use. They're all in the KW ecosystem to lay out for you. So just find the one that works for you that you're going to do. Like, don't pick one that says 4 pop buys a year if you're not going to do the pop buys, right? So then just interject those right into here, in particular in your first 90 days. So remember, this is for 90 days. So what am I going to do in my first 90 days with my sphere of influence? Am I going to send them a handwritten note card? So 1 handwritten note card a quarter? Am I going to call them 1 time in this period of time? Am I going to add them into a really good smart plan that I have created? And Amanda can help you with that. And by the way, you don't recreate the wheel. Again, Sam and I were just talking about this yesterday. There's a sharing library in Command You're probably not gonna find one that you love all the steps of that person's. But what you are gonna find is, ooh, I like those 3 steps from this one, and I like those 2 steps from this one, and I like that step from this one. And it gives you ideas to put them together. I also will tell you a little tip. People are more likely to look at, when you're doing an email campaign, that the body of the email is an image like a flyer versus a paragraph. If they're like me, I'm a very fast moving person. And if I see this isn't something that I actually want to learn about or know about, or wasn't directed to me specifically, I'm not reading it. I'm gonna read 1 or 2 words and I'm realize, nah. But I would glance at a flyer of an image and get the bullet points. And then even as I'm deleting it, that information's still sunk in my head. Same with the handwritten note cards, no more than 3 sentences. Like, I remember years ago, somebody would send out, and I think people do this sometimes, a year-end letter to everyone in their SOI, a year-end letter. And they put it on Christmas paper and everything, and it was 2-sided. And I said, and they gave it to me, and I was like, what do you want me to do with this? And he wanted me to read it. And I was like, oh, I'm not reading this. And not to be rude, I'm not reading this. It's too long. It's too long. And I said, oh my gosh, I think this is a lovely thing because you're giving updates about your life and what you're doing and the family and all these wonderful things. But think about your demographic. Most people, who's going to read it? A high S personality. And I think for those of you who know DISC, probably an S is going to read it. I don't even know that an I is gonna read it, probably. An I is gonna be like, oh, fun. Look at these little cartoony pictures on here. A C is gonna be like, are there bullet points? And are there facts in here I need to learn about? So the only person you have a shot that might read the whole thing from start to finish is a high C personality, and otherwise they're gonna throw it away. But so isn't a handwritten note card that was personal to them, that was 3 sentences, is gonna take care of it. So if you photocopy something to send it out, it's not gonna have the same bang for your buck. But just put a really good cohesive plan together then, for how you're gonna touch them through the year, but in the particular on this GPS for the first quarter. Carmisha, you unmuted yourself. So what other source of business?
Mine is pretty much marketing for one of my priorities. I want to do a first-time home buyers webinar.
Okay.
That would be a seminar. But yeah, so different strategies for that would be, well, different strategies I also want to do for marketing is just making sure I time block for social media. And I also want to farm.
So are you saying your first time home buyer seminar, is that one of the strategies under marketing? Or
Yeah.
is that a priority? Okay.
Yeah, like I want to do at least like once a quarter.
Okay. Okay. So a priority would be marketing, and then a strategy would be, in this first 90 days, I will do a first time home buyer seminar by this deadline.
Mhm.
So remember, it has to be actionable and measurable, and measure can be the amount of times, the frequency, or it can have a deadline. So by this date, I will have it scheduled. So make sure that you fill in those blanks, so like, have enough space for, I will have a date chose for it by this date. I will have my content created for invitations by this date, and the date it's going to be is on this date. If you don't have it planned out like that, like, would you plan a party, like a big party? I don't mean a kid's birthday party that we can throw together last minute. Would you plan an event for, let's say, a wedding without knowing the date of the event? And then
No.
the date you're going to go pick out flowers and the date that you're gonna go do this. So handle it like it's an event like that, so that you have, I know by this date I need to do this, and by this date I need to do that. But by all means, select your actual event date and put it on the calendar. Otherwise, it's just something that you want to do and not do.
Right.
But I love it. And then what it's gonna be too, a strategy is where are they coming from? So one, you mentioned social media. So then another strategy in there is going to be specific. I'm not gonna just post something one time on social media, which is only gonna go out to my friends and family that follow me on social media or the 25 people that are in my algorithm. You need to do marketing campaigns on social media to get that out to the demographic of people that are first-time home buyers so that you can capture those, attention of those people.
Yeah. Yeah, and I spoke with Cliff yesterday too.
Uh-huh.
So spoke with Cliff yesterday. I'm sorry, I'm a little late.
Yeah.
So he would be able to attend also for the first time home buyers if they do have other questions
Are you
regarding
doing it in person or are you doing that on Zoom?
I do want to do it in person.
Okay,
Yeah, maybe at like a library or something. I've been
okay,
piecing it together, but slowly,
nice.
slowly.
So it sounds like you've thought through. So I think that, what I would love to then see for you, Carmesia, is have a date of the event
Mhm.
in mind before the end of the week.
Okay. Yeah, and my GPS is pretty much looking the same as last year. Just gonna, fix it up to make it more reasonable now that I pretty much see
And
what's
it can
going
be,
on.
it can be the same as last year, but what I would do though is ask yourself the question on each of these strategies, what was the thing that caused me not to complete this? And how can I maybe change this strategy to actually be able to spend the time to do it? Is it that you didn't put it on your calendar or you just didn't do it? Because when it was, here's the other thing I see people getting caught up in is they put it on their calendar and then they sit down and they don't know what to do. You have to know what to do. Again, if you came into a job and I said to you, here's what you're going to do today, because I'm your boss, and I'm going to say, go spend an hour on social media, that's not enough of instruction. If I were a boss of a company, it would be, here's the content, here's where you're going to create it. It needs to be posted by the end of the day or scheduled for tomorrow. And then the next thing is going to be, here are the people you're going to call today if you're making calls. Not just, I'm going to spend an hour making calls. So be very specific in this way. And I can see over the years now, this is where agents fail in this area. So if SOI is a strategy for you or a priority for you, it can't just be, I will call SOI an hour every day, because you won't. It needs to be this on your calendar and maybe also in your GPS. It needs to say this. I am going to call for an hour, or I'm going to call 10 people, or I'm going to keep on calling until I talk to 5 people. It needs to be very specific like that, but it also needs to be this. If you worked for me, Jacob, I'm going to say you because you said sphere of influence. If you worked for me and you came in on Monday morning and you were going to spend 2 hours making calls, this is for me because you work for me. This is what I would have for you. Here's the 50 people that you're going to call. Here's their name and number, and here's the script. Now go do it.
Right.
If you don't know who and you don't know what, then you're not going to do it. Because otherwise you're going to sit there for 25 minutes thinking about, who am I supposed to call? And then you pick up the phone and you call 2 people and then they don't answer and then you call it a day. You need to look at it like it's your job and you're your own boss, and your boss said, okay, you came in and here's who you're calling and this is what you're saying. And I don't want you to stop until you either hit these 50 people or you reached 5 people or you got an appointment. I don't know if you guys have noticed when you're in the office, but there's a new guy and he's a transfer agent. I don't know much about him other than I walked up to him recently, introduced myself and say, hey, I need to introduce myself because I don't know you. And why are you always here? Like, what are you doing? I'm curious. You're here, you're dressed for work. You sit there at that bank of computers. And let me tell you, lately I've been in here late. He is still sitting there every day.
What's his last?
Jason is his name.
Jason.
And he is here. He said he is not leaving until he gets an appointment. His job is real estate. He may have just walked by the door right now. I'm going to invite him in to talk in a Dominate Your Week. I'm very curious what he's doing, who he's calling, what his plan is, because he said his job, full-time job is real estate, and he is not leaving this office without an appointment.
He transferred from Cleveland, right?
I don't know. I don't know much about him. I only know that I've noticed that he's always in. And listen, guys, don't mistake this too. Come ready to work. Don't we all feel better when we feel like we've come ready to work? Like I've come into the job, don't get me wrong, I have ripped jeans on and tennis shoes today, but I still feel like I've come ready to work. So there's ways of making that still look good. Maybe not, but I feel like there is. And come ready to work. Don't we feel better? If I'm in my loungewear and I'm at home, sunk into my comfy couch, how effective can I really be? I'll say maybe, and this is me making up a number, 2% of the population can be effective like that, but not most people. You know, build your moat around a place that you can be most effective. If you don't know, we have something called a bunker downstairs in this office that you can go use anytime. It's just a little padded room, I call it, very quiet and away from everybody, where you can do the stuff that you need to do that keeps you from being distracted with other things. There's an app you can put on your phone. Mason, remind me, and I know we're going over. What's the app that you put on your phone that you set for a time of the day that doesn't allow any interruptions? Don't keep me hanging. Makes me think you're not there. Okay, anyway, there's an
Maybe the
app.
focus feature.
Say that again?
Focus feature.
Okay, maybe.
Focus
Yeah.
or do not disturb.
Okay, yep. And it gives them the inability to, so it's not just do not disturb, because that means nothing can come through. It gives him the inability to actually get on his phone. Like you can't even now try to, like you have disabled your phone for this time, this day, and you can't even change your mind about it. I'm sure there's a way of getting past it for emergencies, but you know what my point. So it isn't just calls can't come through, because let's face it, we're not getting, the phone's not ringing, right? It's you get on social media.
You
That's what it
forward
is.
that up.
Well, getting on social media is not bad. It's what you're doing on social media while you're on there.
If you were on there because you blocked time,
As long as you're not doing dog and cat.
Doodling.
watching Dog and cat videos, then.
it is mind blowing to
Yeah.
me. Girls, you guys are high Ds back there.
Yeah.
Tell me, am I wrong in saying, like, my mind is blown by the fact that people can sit and watch videos. Like my husband shows me something. I'm like, oh, is that a video? Please stop. I can't even take it for 3 seconds, let alone for 20 minutes. Is that a D personality thing, or is that just me?
I think it's the personality. I think we just have.
I can look at like cooking shows, like cooking videos,
Yeah,
but that's like for like maybe 5 minutes.
yes.
So then the people that will scroll through like TikTok.
Yeah. Oh,
I can never do that. Like I
No.
don't have TikTok for like.
neither do I.
Stand it.
And it's okay, like do you, if that's your entertainment, then by all means, just don't do entertainment when, like, let's go back. Would you sit home in the middle of the day at 1 o'clock and put the TV on? What was on TV back in the, like soap operas?
Like boring.
Like I would never have a TV on in my house in the middle of the day, ever, unless I had small children watching whatever the cartoons are these days.
News.
Yeah, I mean, that's my point though. Would you watch a movie at 1 o'clock in the afternoon on a Tuesday when you know you're supposed to be working? So how's it any different than looking at silly videos for 2 hours on TikTok? It's still a disruption. So don't do that, because then you lose time, right? Obviously.
Yeah, the way I thought about it was, I don't need to be reminded to get on social media. I do that every day.
Exactly.
So I'm not gonna make that a strategy or a priority because I'm already doing it.
It's what you're
how-
doing.
It's how you're using it, yeah.
So what did we talk
If you're
about
gonna be on social
yesterday?
Media, then make something on Canva real quick and post it to your social.
That's
media.
right. Yes. Also, look, I talked about it when I was talking about the 12 days of Christmas yesterday, the 5 by 5 by 5. Kate, remind us what that is. I always have to go to Kate.
I actually just put on my GPS. It's where you get on your preferred social media platform. I use Facebook and Instagram, and you do 5 different things. You add 5 friends, you wish 5 happy birthdays, you interact with a post with 5 different posts with like the like or the love or whatever. you put 5 comments, and then you send 5 direct messages.
Yep. So that's something to do.
Yeah, and that pushes the algorithm so that you're noticed more.
Correct.
Yeah, I think that worked, because like, and I don't know if this is, like, I hadn't talked to Charlie in a long time,
Mhm.
and he posted something on Facebook, and I liked it and put congratulations.
Yeah.
and He sent me that link.
See?
So I'm like, did he just get reminded me, I'm gonna have to ask him if.
Yeah.
Just like,
That's
oh my gosh,
interesting.
yeah, I need to send Jeff a lead, it's been a little while.
Yeah.
And that reminded him.
Yes.
If that worked, then I need to get back.
I mean, well, like it kept you in his head, like it did. And I will say this, had you just liked it and not commented, he might, like, who's looking at how many, like, if you have 79 likes, you really spend the time looking through who liked it.
Right.
So if you don't comment, and by the way, comment and ask a question.
Oh,
Congratulations, how you been?
yeah, that's good too.
Do you know what I mean? Because when you ask a question, they don't just like your comment, they then answer. You don't leave people hanging, so you answer, and then that causes engagement, which then pushes you to the top. One more thing about social media, do not lose the opportunity to look into how effective Facebook groups can be for you and your business. What do we know about Facebook groups? Do we know anything?
If you're on the local Facebook groups, people are always looking for something, whether it's a
Mhm.
mechanic or somebody to come do something to their house that need fixed.
So joining Facebook groups like that for one, but also creating one.
Yeah.
And feeding it with all your friends. But here's what's important about when you create a Facebook group. What's the first thing? Some of you have heard me say this before. Every morning, if I'm looking on my social media, which I haven't yet today, but whenever I do, the first thing I'm going to see every single day is a happy birthday to someone from Legacy and Living. It's somebody's birthday every day. And the reason I see it first before any other junk is because I'm in the Legacy Facebook group. So what that means for you and your business is if you have all your people in a group and then you post something to social media, everyone who's in that group that because you got to share it to your page and then share it in the group. So every time I do a welcome post or a congratulations on your transaction post, I post it on my page and then I post it on the Legacy page. So every single Legacy agent that's in that group is going to see that post. It's guaranteed they're going to see that post. There's no way not to. So that's what happens first when you open up your Facebook, is that you start seeing those groups that you're in first. So if you have people in a group that you have created and you share to that group, they will see it. So, I think it's weird to tag everybody. I don't love when random people tag me in a post with something and I'm like, who is this and what is this?
Yeah.
So I'm iffy about doing that kind of a thing. But the group thing is something I would explore.
Well, and then if you put your sphere of influence and your social media together, if you have a Facebook business page and you're posting on your Facebook business page, just put at the top, like, shares, and follows are free.
Sure.
Can you help me?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. So get creative with it. All right, guys, any last questions, thoughts before we go? Thanks for hanging over. All right, well, have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you. Gina.
I gotta end this the proper way so the recording stops, right?